Today we're going to focus on the dashboards page. Specifically, we're going to focus on the positions tab. So let's get to it. Here we are on the dashboard page in the web application myatmm.com. And as you can see, we've entered some more transactions into our demo account for Microsoft, Tesla, and Apple as examples. All this is fake data. We just entered some numbers just to show you what shows up in the dashboard. So let's go ahead and start off with the first row up here. This is just the high level overview aggregate of all of the transactions that have been entered into the web application. So the first column is showing the total deposits that have been entered, less withdrawals. So it takes the net of all your deposits, withdrawals, and that's what shows up in this first column. The brokerage column is an estimate of what it should, if you have all of your money in a single brokerage or a combination of brokerages. This is pretty much the amount that it thinks is a estimate of what should be in the brokerage based off of all the transactions you entered. It's kind of a good way so you can see if you're in the ballpark of what your brokerages are saying. It'll probably always be fluctuating depending on what kind of positions you have. The only way to truly tell if you had a net, meaning the numbers matched exactly, is if you had no positions at all, because obviously the markets are always fluctuating, so the values are always changing, so the brokerage amount's always going to be fluctuating, varying, and if this application will pull in the last price, but if they're not like in sync to the penny, this amount will vary. So it's usually just a good gauge to kind of ballpark. It's like, okay, I'm showing 50,000 in my brokerage, and here it's showing 50,083. Or if it's showing 50,100 in your brokerage, but I'm showing 50,083, then chances are you're pretty darn close to having the same amount reflected and added to this web application as you do in your brokerage account. So that's kind of an indicator to see if you're kind of on target with what you're maintaining in your brokerage and what you're maintaining in this website. All right, so stock cost, this is the overall amount of what you've paid to buy stock. So this is the total amount of cash that you've used to purchase stock ownership. The stock value is the number of shares that you currently own in the system times their last price. So it's basically what the current value of your stocks are. This unrealized gain loss is obviously taking the stock cost that you paid for it minus what the current value is, and that's your unrealized gain or loss at this point in time. Collateral is any amount that you've used to buy cash secured puts on all your positions. This is the amount of cash that should be being currently held as collateral in those positions. The credits column is your total amount of premiums that you've received and collected throughout the life of all of these stock ticker symbols for any covered calls that you've sold or any cash secured puts that you've sold. That's where this number is reflected. Okay, the realized gain and loss. If during the course of all these transactions you actually do end up selling or buying back stock at a loss, then, so like in this example right now, we have $24,000 of cost. The value is only that. If we were to actually go ahead and sell that at this 170 would change from an unrealized gain or loss to a realized gain and loss. So in this sample application, that's what's happened. We have sold some stock back at a loss. So we now have a realized loss of $1,000. The overall gain and loss is basically taking the total number of credits that you've received minus or plus. It's actually credits plus realized gain. So it's all of your credits plus your realized gain or loss, and that's your overall gain or loss across everything. So as you can tell, this number does not reflect any unrealized gains or losses, because I mean, you could own 100 or 1,000 shares of something in it. You could have bought it at 40 and now it's worth 20, so you've actually have an unrealized loss of quite a bit of money there, but you still own the shares, so you can still collect premium and you can still be selling covered calls on that the entire time. So the paper loss does not mean anything as far as an overall gain until you actually sell it back. So that's how these numbers are working up here. Okay, the percentage unused This is basically seeing how much of your capital you have tied up in stocks and collateral, and it's showing you what percentage of your available cash that is not being currently invested in anything. So that's what this percentage up here is showing. Okay, so down to the positions tab. So this is a breakout of all of your positions that you have for any stocks that you've traded in any capacity, anything you've ever sold a call or a put on, or bought a call or put on, or bought or sold any stock. That's what will show up in here, and it totals all of them. And I believe it is sorting it by the percentage of your account. So whatever your highest amount that you have involved or have invested in a current stock ticker symbol, whatever the greatest one is, will show up first. So per this example, we have all of our money, or not all of our money, but the majority of our money, 47.58% of our money tied up in MSFT. And we have 18.97% tied up in Tesla and 0 in Apple, because we currently don't have a position in Apple in this example. So let's go ahead and go through each one of these columns. As you can tell, that's the stock's ticker symbol. That's pretty obvious. The shares, these are the shares that you currently own. If we have any cash secured puts, these are the shares represented in those puts. This is the last price it traded at, which is updated twice daily, or you can actually go into the covered calls screen and manually kick off an update if you want to get a closer to real-time number. Next, we have the cost basis column. This is the cost basis for that ticker symbol. So for MSFT, for example, we are currently setting at a $240 cost basis per share on that. Something you'll notice, let me just skip down to this other column, how Tesla and Apple are showing 0, but we have 18.97% of our money tied up in this. So you're like, well, why don't we have a cost basis? The reason why we don't have a cost basis is because, as you can see, we don't have any shares that we own. So we don't have a cost basis on Tesla right now. But what we do have is we have 100 shares for a put contract that we have on Tesla. So that's why this is 0 and that's 0. So just to distinguish those apart. So after the cost basis column, now we have a cost basis with premium. So this is the cost basis for this stock ticker symbol, including the premium, so we can get an overall measure of what we are truly setting at in this stock. So, I mean, if we wanted to get out of this stock and break even and just walk away with no profit, no loss, that's where we would have to sell the stock for in order to achieve that. Next column is cost basis, including puts. This number will always be the same as cost basis if you do not have any cash secured puts going. If you do have some cash secured put contracts going, then it will reflect what your cost basis would be if it got assigned. So in this example, our cost basis would be $95. If the 100 shares that we have a contract on, we'd have to go look at the cost basis screen to see the details of that contract. But if it got assigned, then this would be what our cost basis would be at that time. Okay. Unrealized gain loss, again, this is the paper loss based off of the stock that we bought, the cost minus the value that the current price is for that stock. So that's what the unrealized column is. Collateral is if we have any cash secured puts. The collateral represents the put value. So Tesla is the only one in this example that we have any cash secured puts on, so that's why that has a collateral value. Number of transaction is just the number of transactions that we've entered that, can be anything. Anytime you've bought and sold a call, a put, or a stock, that all counts up for the number of transactions. You can go to the cost basis screen to see the transactions in detail. Then we have the credits column. This is all of the credits that were ever received for each stock ticker symbol. And the realized gain loss on a ticker or, a symbol by symbol basis. So that will show all that. So basically you can see this 1,000 at the top. You can also see the 1,000 totaled here, but individually you can see, okay, all of that came from Apple. So it didn't come from MSFT or Tesla, it came from Apple. All right, the overall gain loss is again just this number just broken out into the individual stock ticker symbol. So you can see that this, we made money on MSFT, we made money here, and we lost a little bit here. And that's just the current state, obviously. I mean, you could start selling cash secured puts on this again, get back into the game, and, you know, change that. But in any case, that's just a reflection of all this. I've already explained the percentages. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the dashboard positions screen. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want a free account, go out to myatmm.com today and get your free account. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.